Okay, the next movement series we're going to talk about are our strict hinge patterns. This is going to include a lot of Romanian deadlift variations. So when I talk about a Romanian deadlift, I mean a deadlift pattern where you start from a standing position and then you really focus on a pure hinge. This is different from the other deadlift series we're talking about, where we're talking about picking up. So if you hear me talk about a pickup deadlift, it generally assumes we're starting from the ground and we're picking something up. If you hear me talk about any of the strict hinge patterns or the Romanian deadlift patterns, it means that we're really just focusing on a pure hinge pattern with very little knee bending. And they're really complementary towards each other. You're going to find that different movements are a better match than others. But this one I think is really important because it's a unilateral movement and it can help with all sorts of things. So let's go ahead and talk about the whys and then we'll go into some more details. So I want to talk about the general why of hinging, progressing to unilateral hinges. So unilateral movements help with imbalances in strength, mobility, and coordination. Everyone is naturally going to be imbalanced on their left and right side. However, if you focus on one side at a time, it can help you even out. This is especially true if we're picking things up or doing squats and things like that. You might find that one set of hips has more mobility than the others, and sometimes your body will compensate. So it's really nice to give your body an opportunity to move on each side separately on a movement pattern that works for that particular side rather than trying to force symmetry on both sides together at the same time. Unilateral movements can help strengthen muscles and patterns that are not covered with traditional bilateral movements. So a lot of things will fall through the cracks when you try to do a traditional deadlift or a traditional squat. Where you focus on the unilateral stuff, you can really focus on different muscles that sometimes don't get hit or different movement patterns that don't get hit in traditional bilateral gym movements. Um, Unilateral movements can help open up new movement options and mitigate side dominance. So again, if you're going to have one side that's dominant that you always use over and over and over again, this gives your body an opportunity to practice those patterns with the other side. So that's going to open up options. Unilateral movements are really excellent for challenging and building up balance. And another advantage is there's reduced need for special heavy equipment, as unilateral movements tend to be just as effective with less weight. So there's a lot of advantages here. Now, other things to consider about hinge patterns specifically. So I was talking about the advantage of unilateral movements. Now I'm going to talk about why we're focusing on strict hinge patterns. A strict hinge pattern can help strengthen posterior chain, including lower back, while avoiding low back flexion. So if you're concerned about low back flexion, focusing on a pure hinge rather than a pickup could be a good match for you. When we focus on Romanian deadlift variations, it's going to reduce variables. So you can just focus just really on the lower back, glutes, and hamstrings in a range of motion that's comfortable for you. You can also progress these indefinitely through graded exposure. So these are not lesser movements. You can continue to make progress on these movements for years and years and years as just a slightly different emphasis. This set of movements is going to aim to progress more of a pure or strict hinge pattern. So it's going to have less contribution from your quads and your knees, more focus on posterior chain. So again, that's going to be your glutes, your hamstrings, your low back. These movements can really help with hip mobility. They've really helped me with my hip mobility and other asymmetries and muscular asymmetries, especially in the lower back. Over time, this may help with certain kinds of back pain, but remember, you really want to progress this slowly and listen to your body. The general goal of this progression is to begin with a bilateral hinge, so that's a two-legged hinge, and then introduce a staggered or split squat option or split stance option. And what that's going to do is it's going to challenge your balance a little bit, but it's going to allow you to really focus on one side while not being as challenging as a one-legged deadlift pattern. But then over time, we're going to get people doing a one-legged deadlift pattern, maybe with the assistance of a dowel, maybe without. In terms of progressions here, if you're really concerned about using your lower back, we have an optional video, which is an isometric back extension. I do these every single day. I think they're really, really useful, and I think they really help with my own back. You do not need to do these, but we've provided an option for you. That is just if you want to avoid external weight and moving your lumbar spine at all. However, if you are comfortable with some hinging, then we have this next progression. We're going to start probably with a bilateral kettlebell Romanian deadlift, which will be really familiar if you've looked at the other hinge video. Then we're going to go ahead and do a stagger stance kettlebell Romanian deadlift where you still have the other foot on the ground, but it's just going to go ahead and give you support while you focus on your dominant leg. Then we're going to go ahead and switch to a single leg Romanian deadlift with optional dowel support. And this is going to be your one-legged version that can be really challenging for balance, but is a really nice long-term movement and something I think everyone can benefit from long-term. And then finally, we are going to have the option of a bilateral sandbag Romanian deadlift, but that's going to be depending on your needs. There's a good chance that you won't do this bilateral deadlift in these set of movements, but you might want to have it as an option for your other deadlift pickup options if you decide that a low deadlift isn't a good match for you. So take that into consideration.